Is there any problem for starting the program?
So program starts by 6 o'clock.
Oh,
Okay. Starts. Oh. Very good evening, participants. We'll start by 6 p.m. IST 6 p.m. Please wait for a few more minutes. We'll start by 6 p.m. Sir, very good evening, sir. Professor, Director General, sir. Very good evening. Very good evening, Professor.
Sorry. Hello. Good evening, Dr. Ashokan.
Yeah, very good evening. Madam, very good evening, madam. Thank you for joining with us. Very good evening. Very good evening.
A pleasure being here. So many participants already online and
Yes, ma'am.
looking
Yes, ma'am.
forward.
Thank you. Thank you for joining with us, ma'am. Ma'am, 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock we start by exactly, ma'am. So 6 p.m. we start, sir.
Hello, Subramanian sir. Yes, sir. You are audible, sir. You are audible.
Good evening, one and all present here. I welcome you all for a 15-day international virtual faculty development program on teaching, learning, and assessing in 2030. SRM Institute of Science and Technology is one of the top-ranking universities in India. Over 20,000 students, 1,500 faculty members, offering a wide range of undergraduate, postgraduate, and doctoral programs in engineering, management, medicine, and health sciences, science and humanities. SRM IST has been accredited by NAC with the highest A++ grade in the year of 2018, valid for next 5 years. Foreign faculty members, flexible and dynamic curriculum, excited research, and global are the features of SRM. The students have a wide choice of cutting-edge programs, including nanotechnology, bioinformatics, genetic engineering, remote sensing, and GIS embedded systems or computer forensics to choose from. Most of these courses are offered in the close collaboration with foreign universities. Over 150 students sponsored to 35 foreign universities like MIT, UC Davis, Warwick, and Western Australia. With this short introduction, I hand over my session to Dr. Priyadarshini Madam.
Very warm welcome you for all for 15 days international online faculty development program on teaching, learning, and assessing in 2030. I feel privileged to have each and every one of you here today joining us in this pursuit of organized by Department of Physics, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Ramapuram campus. Now I invite our HOD, Dr. N. Ashokan sir, for delivering the welcome address.
Thank you, madam. Very warm greetings and very good evening to one and all present here. Greetings from SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Ramapuram campus, Chennai, India. We are facing unprecedented challenges, social, economic, and environmental, driven by accelerating globalization and a faster rate of technological developments. At the same time, those forces are providing us with myriad new opportunities for human advancement. The future is always uncertain and we cannot predict it, but we need to open and ready for it. The learner entering education in 2018 will be young adults in 2030. Higher educational institutions can prepare them for jobs that have not yet been created, for technologies that have not yet been invented, to solve problems that have not yet been anticipated. It will be a shared responsibility among stakeholders to seize opportunities and find solutions. Their motivation will be more than getting a job and a high income. They will also need to care about the well-being of their friends and families, their communities, and the planet. A sense of purpose and the competencies they need to shape their own lives and contribute their lives of others. So the purpose of conducting this 15-day international virtual faculty development program on teaching, learning, and assessing in 2030, which will help teachers to improve their teaching competencies and improve their educational leadership. In turn, we expect teachers will help learners to navigate through uncertainty, to develop curiosity, imagination, resilience, and self-regulation, to respect and appreciate the ideas, perspectives, and values of others, to cope up with failure and rejection, and move forward in the face of adversity. So more than 500 participants registered all from all over the world, including all parts of India, around more than 300 people, 200 people from Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Indonesia, Zambia, Pakistan, Nepal, Ghana, Thailand, Bangladesh, Turkey, Brazil, Ukraine, Nigeria, Syria, Germany, Saudi Arabia, and Sultanate of Oman. So esteemed chief guests, distinguished guest of honor, dedicated participants from all over the world. It's my great honor and privilege to welcome you all to a 15-day international virtual faculty development program on teaching, learning, and assessing in 2030. We would like to extend a very warm welcome to our most respected and beloved Dean Sir, Dr. Murali Krishna, Dean Engineering and Technology, SRM IST Ramapuram. Welcome, sir. We are very delighted to welcome our chief guest, Professor G.L.T. Vikramasinke. Professor Vicky is called by his friends. Director General, Colombo Plant Staff College, President, Asia Pacific Accreditation and Certification Commission, Philippines. Welcome you, sir. We would like to extend a warm welcome to our guest of honor, Dr. Bharati Harishankar, Vice Chancellor, Avinashi Lingam Institute for Home Science and Higher Education for Women, deemed to be University, Coimbatore, India. Welcome you, ma'am. It gives immense pleasure in welcoming all the participants from all over the world for inauguration ceremony of a 15-day international virtual faculty development program on teaching, learning, and assessing in 2030. Once again, welcoming all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now, may I request our convener, Dr. N. Ashokan, sir, to introduce the guest of honor.
Chief guest, ma'am, sorry. So the chief guest here, today is the chief guest having some other meeting. So I will request you to first speak to deliver the inaugural address. Today's chief guest, Professor G.L.D. Vikramasinge, Director General, Colombo Plant Staff College, has finished his PhD at the University of Manchester in 2003. He also obtained a PG certificate in learning and teaching, the University of Arts, London, UK in 2006, and an MBA in the University of Sri Jayawardenepura, Sri Lanka in 2008. Prior to his appointment as the Director General, he was a professor at the Department of Textile and Clothing Technology, University of Moratuwa, Sri Lanka since 2015. Here he also held the administrative post during his career as a former Vice Chancellor of the University of Vocational Technology, former Chairman of the Center for Open and Distant Learning of the University of Moratuwa, and former Head of the Department of Textile and Clothing Technology. He also served as the Chairman of Alithe International School and independent non-executive director of Orit Apparels Lanka Limited and Sri Lanka Institute of Textile and Apparel. He also served as the Director of Technical and Quality Assurance of the Brandix Textile Limited. He also served as a chairman and member of various public sector strategic and technical committees. He published over 600 research publications on topics related to textile engineering and educational management, of which over 30 are international referred journal publications. He was honored with 18 national and international awards, including Emerald Literary Award 2018, President's Award for Scientific Publications 2017, and NRC Merit Award for Scientific Publications 2016, again in 2011. The World Education Congress also honored him with the award for outstanding contribution to education in Sri Lanka Educational Leadership Awards in 2018. So we are very honored to have Professor Vikramasinke. We welcome you once again. Welcome you, sir. The floor is yours, sir. Please.
Thank you, Dr. Kesavan. Sorry, Dr. Asokan.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Dr. Bharati Harishankar, Vice Chancellor, Avinashi Lingam Institute for Home Science and Higher Education for Women, Dr. Murali Krishna, Dean, Dr. Prabhakaran, Vice Principal, Academics, Dr. Balika Chellaya, Vice Principal, Admin, Dr. Ashokan, distinguished invitees, fellow academics, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, let me express my sincere appreciation for the honor I have been given to officiate the inaugural ceremony of the International Conference with the theme Teaching, Learning, and Assessing in 2030. I would like to take this opportunity to thank SRM Institute of Science and Technology for organizing this 15-day international online faculty development program to educate academics focusing on teaching, learning, and assessing in 2030. So this topic is very timely and also very extremely important for the future education context, mainly due to new competencies demanded by future skills focusing on 4IR, digital technology, innovation, and education. As Dr. Ashokan mentioned, the future is very difficult to predict. The only solution is we have to be ready for the future. Especially, digital technologies are rapidly developing and also transforming the way individuals work, learn, and also participate in our day-to-day life. So digital innovation become more available and also present opportunities to make quality learning and career opportunities for more accessible across the globe. However, it seems educational institutions and administrative systems and also regulatory education frameworks are we all aware that struggling to adopt this phase. Especially during pandemic, we all exposed our academics and administrators, academic administrators, and also students. We exposed because we all used to deliver our, the learning and teaching and learning methodologies based on, face-to-face teaching and learning. And the digital technology and innovation has completely changed the education landscape and also is being changing at a very high rate than anyone imagined. I'm sure there may be many sessions in this faculty development program discussing the future challenges. Because now we are facing a lot of challenges and now we are focusing even like 2030, focusing very far from today's context. So therefore, the challenges and also the competency, even not 2030, even 2025, we still can't predict. And the proficiency needs and also how those affect our educational systems and possible new education models to face the challenge in the future. Because without, predicting or without preparing for the future challenges, we will not be able to, change our learning and teaching and learning systems. And I assume most of the faculty members attending this faculty development program are we call native analog learners, including myself. So we started our education in analog pathways. And also have experience to a certain extent that online pathways as well as digital learning pathways either as a student or an academic. Because throughout, before pandemic, even though online and the digital platforms are there, most of our the teaching and learning methodologies were face-to-face, right? Mainly teacher-centered, right? Practical also, the workshops face-to-face, etc. But the pandemic pushed all of us to think differently because there were no option for us. We had to go for online. Now, with that one, so now we actually, the most of faculty members, I assume, gone through this all three phases, at least understand that one. Even though still we, apply the analog model or we call pedagogy, and also the online andragogy, the teaching and learning methodologies. But now we have to move into digital as well, or we call tutoragy. As analog learners, we all know that the fundamental learning was done in pedagogical learning approach, where we had in-person, like classroom-based teaching, skill acquired from in-person practical classes, followed by even on-the-job training. We all had, 3 months, 6 month training, in a workplace, and also obtain our qualifications, maybe certificate, diploma, degree with paper qualification. Even now, when we go for an interview, we still carry our paper certificates, right? Degree certificate, diploma, PhD, all. And also, I remember the earliest instance of digitization initiated experience during my education. That was the introduction of digital projector connected to a computer, right? Replacing an overhead projector, because earlier we used, transparent sheets. We came to all these. So even though, it doesn't seem like, much now, it felt like we were stepping into a digital technology at that time, because when we use computers, PowerPoint presentations, moving to that era, so that was a big thing for all of us. It actually helped us to, improve our teaching and learning methodologies. No need to repeat, dictate. And also, even though it was, not that significant now, but I assume that it was a very important step, because it kicked off the whole process of bringing technology into the educational sector. So now all of us have experience in the education 2.0 practices with, online learning in all forms of education sectors, which incorporated andragogy learning approach, especially during the pandemic, right? Platform-based and also self-directed learning. So online classes and virtual assignments, online recorded lab classes have become the norm during the COVID-19 countermeasure lockdown. And we all had to get used to the new form of working called work from home, right? So sometimes we recorded and, uploaded into our Moodles, and sometimes even practicals we did. So we had to adopt that one. So that is, our generation, we had gone through both phases. The fundamental learning in this online-based teaching and learning, where online courses are based on recorded lectures or maybe remote live instructions, hybrid online programs, and also in-person instructions via our LMS, Zoom, or Microsoft platforms. And again, certificate also you can get actually online certificates normally issued in most of the programs, even I'm sure this program as well. So now, we are talking about 2030 now. Within last, I think, 10 years, we have evolved through all these eras. First one, the analog, and also online. So now the third one, we are now facing the adoption of new era of education, normally called, some people say education 4.0, and some people say it's digitally equipped pedagogy-based learning. Right? So this pedagogy-based is called self-managed learning. This is very important, so especially for higher education and private sector, when there's a rapid expansion of new digital technologies within the education and labor market demanding new competencies. So, now the competencies change very quickly. Right? They demand 4IR skills. They demand reading skills. They demand SDG skills, right? And then, ICT skills, digital skills, all. Now the issue is, if we go with long-term, our diploma, degree, etc., it takes long time. So therefore, now we have to have a shorter version to give these competencies, right? It's not long-term, like maybe a CPD program. So that's why this is very important for Tibet and the higher education sector, right? So we have to understand, we have to adopt it. I know earlier I mentioned that we are native, the analog, students, and also native analog lecturers. But now we are forced to change. So in this new education 4.0 approach, right, or we call digital approach, teaching and learning are based on digital platforms. Now the issue is, probably our students are native digital students. So they consist of millennials, Gen Z, the new generation. So they are not afraid for digital transition. So they are very familiar with that one. They prefer, especially the gamification, AI tools and all, they are very, used to that one. And even I saw, actually, we had a regional program in Singapore. So most of their education now focused on this pedagogy-based, self-directed learning with AI tools, and then gamification and, virtual reality that we run now. So now, as academics, that's why this program is very important. So I'm not going to touch actually the technical fields, because I'm sure there may be a lot of people from electronics, electrical, civil, mechanical, and other fields. So I'm just touching the education side. So therefore, now we have to prepare to teach these Gen Z people who are native digital students. So it is believed that most of the members of this Gen Z are the first social generation to have grown up with access to internet and portable digital technology from their young age, where we didn't actually. Right? Even some of us actually, had TV during our mid age. So the fundamental traits of this we call so-called education 4.0 or digital, the platform era, where the fundamental learning through dynamic learning, credential platforms, modularized courses with digital badging. So these all the new concepts coming now. So skills are incorporated to, like as I mentioned you earlier, virtual reality, augmented reality, interactive gamified training, or even problem-solving activities, real-time assessment. So these all using platform or database and so on. So the competencies, the other part is also very important. So we have to now think about how we prepare our programs to meet this digital platform. It doesn't mean that we have to go all into that one. We are basically operating in all the three areas: analog, online, as well as digital. But the weight for digital is more and more now, especially for higher education and TVET sector. The pedagogy-based, self-directed learning. And the other part is how you certify these competencies, right? Because that's also earlier like certificate, all, the macro credential combined, programs. You have to get all the credits if you want to get the qualification. So now with this new model, so these competencies are also certified by like micro credentials. As an example, like digital badges, nano degrees, and all targeted skill bundling through digital wallets. So that is the future. Not actually future, even now also a lot of developed countries, they are moving into this one, the micro credentials, especially to give the competencies, skills, and knowledge for the 4IR and 21st century skills. And also new platform and education pathways also facilitate this artificial intelligence to suggest like even potential jobs, etc. So these all linked now together. Right? Once you get these digital micro credentials and digital badges, etc., the future you don't have to carry all these certificates. These all might be obsolete. Right? And in particular, during the emergency teaching era, we call the COVID-19 pandemic time. So the digital resources and tools were used by educators worldwide in an effort to maintain students' continuity of learning, because there were no option. Because the pandemic, people moving to online and digital learning, and also they invested a lot on these areas. So further, in a rapid change in economy and technological landscape, digital and platform-based education certified by micro-credentials are becoming more and more popular, especially to provide digital, ICT, and OER skills, and also SPG skills as well, like reading skills, etc. So this will help to keep their skills fresh in their industry and continue working while they advance their education to reduce the financial burden for pursuing more and more traditional degrees. Because even like postgraduate diploma, even MSc, it takes long time, but industry is not willing to wait such a long time. So we have to now introduce new mode of delivery, especially digital learning and micro credentials to give or provide these skills needed by the industry. And also further to the advancement of digital education, currently there is an academic debate again about open AI, we call ChatGPT. Even I saw in my WhatsApp messages, there are a lot of discussion among the academic members about this one, because this revolutionary AI tool has shocked the education world. Now, we know that the ChatGPT is a powerful chatbot that can write essays, solve complex maths and science problems, and even generate working computer code, etc. So some educators have expressed concerns about students using chat GPT, because they might feel that they might cheat using this one, especially during assessment, examination, etc. Some of you may be worried about the even ethics of AI generated writing and also the authenticity of the chat GPT answers, etc. So these are, the actual debate now I also observed during, this last few months, especially among academics. So it's true that the tool has its own pros and cons, but overall, it is believed, right, based on the new information, that the chat GPT has the ability to offer students new ways of learning and engaging with material that may not have considered before. So therefore, rather than creating like chat GPT phobia, so we have to consider ways that higher education can use this even chat GPT, digital era, to enhance teaching and learning. For example, it could be used as a way to offer personalized feedback to students, or as a tool to help students brainstorm and generate ideas for assignments. With some creative thinking, it is believed that the chat GPT can be a powerful addition to any educator's toolkit. So by embracing this kind of digital technology and finding ways to incorporate it to be shaped by digital and AI tools. It is also important to be aware of the potential risks that come with relying too heavily on AI-powered tools. So that lot of debate on that one as well. So that also we have to study, because there is no research on these areas still. So as academics, as educators, so we have to do research on these areas, implementation of this digital education, and as well as this chat GPT and how it impacts actually to our education. However, by striking a balance between these benefits and risks, so chat GPT can be used to revolutionize education for the better, especially focusing on teaching, learning, and assessing future competencies that demanded digital skills. So in rapidly changing education pathways from analog to online to digital platforms, another area to be looked at is the qualification, signaling, and credential technology. So that is actually micro-credential, as I mentioned earlier. So that with that digital transition, we have to look into creating these digital credentials and how we change our curriculum, our programs to incorporate this kind of changes. So today's complex educational environment requires both teachers and leaders to possess more complex and adaptable thinking abilities. So a lot of discussion on fostering like 21st century skills, as I mentioned earlier, like learning skills, critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, communication, and also like literature skills, information media and technology, and life skills. So these are very important. So we have to incorporate that this is actually current. Future may be new skills. So we have to look into those as well. So therefore, the faculty development focusing on futuristic environment is very essential for three key reasons. So we must keep learning relevant and create teachers, leaders, because we need leaders actually to lead this transformation, and also add knowledge to the current body of research in education. Because there are a lot of new concepts coming, still these areas are not researched properly. So academics are, as we all know, lifelong learners who make an impact on the students and communities they serve. So future-oriented professional development comes in many different forms and has many avenues. So it's very critical and crucial in order to increase competent and practical academics and increase understanding of creative teaching and leadership practices that meet the new skills in the year 2030. So distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, so in conclusion, to face future educational challenges, faculty should be developed to master all forms of educational technology, maybe analog, online, and platform-based education or hybrid education, to give the maximum benefit to the learners and to all stakeholders. So let me once again thank everyone for joining us in this online International Faculty Development Program. And I wish that the benefit fostered in this event would not end here, but will flourish into positive rewards in accelerating global higher education 2030. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your very insightful and valuable time spent with us to share your experience, what is going on in the higher education situations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I would like to express our deepest appreciation for your presence and commitment towards professional growth. Your dedication to enhancing teaching and learning practice is truly commendable, and it's through collective effort like this that we can create transformative education experience for our students too. Thank you, sir. Now I request our convener, sir, Dr. N. Ashokan, to introduce the guest of honor.
Thank you, madam. Very good evening again. It's my privilege to introduce our guest of honor, Madam Dr. V. Bharati Harishankar, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Avinash Lingam Institute for Home Science and Higher Education for Women, deemed to be University, Coimbatore, India. Dr. Bharati Harishankar has been Professor of English and founding head of the Department of Women's Studies, University of Madras, Chennai. She has held several administrative positions such as Dean Student Affairs, Director IQAC, Director International Center, Coordinator RUSA, Director UGC HRDC, and Member Syndicate, a Fellow of the Royal Society of Arts, London, UK. Dr. Bharati's research interests include post-colonial studies, gender studies, literary theory, translation, web-based pedagogy, and open educational resources. She has 118 publications, including books, edited volumes, textbooks, articles, and translation in national and international journals. She has presented invited talks in over 100 conferences, most notably at Cambridge University, UK, and a La Pietra dialogue at New York University, Florence. She has successfully guided 16 MPhil students and 14 PhD scholars. Recently, Dr. Bharati was instrumental in setting up a gender lab, the first of its kind in the country, to offer online workshop on gender sensitization in collaboration with the Switzerland Global Services. She has designed a soft skill course on gender sensitization workplace readiness. She got more awards of excellence, including MHRD's Leadership for Academicians programs LEAP at Jamia Millia Islamia and University of Virginia. Member of the School Board of Humanities at University of Hyderabad. She is also a NAC accreditation assessor, Humanities Research Center Travel Grant Australia, visiting fellowship to universities in New Zealand, Sastri Indo-Canadian Faculty Enrichment Fellowship, Sastri Indo-Canadian Collaborative Course Development Grant with Dr. Evelyn Ellerman, Honorary Adjunct Professor at Athabasca University, Canada, nominated member of Australian Institute of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Studies, Australia, consultant author for Commonwealth of Learning and UNESCO, member editorial board of the International Journal Communication and Culture. Dr. Bharati has successfully completed conducting the national and international projects of IDRC Canada, a National Commission for Women, UGC, and Erasmus. We are very happy and honored to have you, madam. The floor is yours. Please, ma'am.
Good evening to all. First of all, thank you very much for asking me to join this very well-designed FDP program, which has drawn participants from all over the world. So on that note, many, many thanks to Professor Ashokan for reaching out to me, Dr. Murli Krishna, Dr. Subramaniam, Vice Principals G. Prabhakaran and Balika Chalaya, and Dr. Priyadarshini for holding the floor. And of course, Professor Vikramasinghe for starting on these discussions on a very, very important note. Because initially when I came to know that you would be proceeding my conversation with the participants, I was wondering whether you're going to get into the technologies very strongly. And if that was the case, how do I balance in terms of my own conversation So that is where I think human beings as teachers still win over, because we have, with a lot of empathy, what you have started and the ideas that you have put forward, it is precisely some of those ideas and a few others that I want to expand on. And I would like all the participants here, faculty participants, because you are educational leaders in your own right. So how you will take this forward in your classrooms. So that is where I thought, let us go to the title of this FDP. We talk about teaching, learning, assessing in 2030. Why is 2030 so important?
Yes, ma'am.
Globally, 2030 would give us roughly one clear decade after the COVID pandemic. For India in particular, 2030 is significant because it would tell us whether our national education policy that was brought out in 2020, it would tell us how we have fared, to what extent we have been able to adapt and implement the national education policy, and what are the very clear takeaways and learnings of that one decade. So 2030 is a very crucial point for all of us in this virtually connected meeting. So why is it that we are looking at teaching learning as something that is only a transaction between a teacher and a learner in a classroom? Somewhere along, we seem to have been stuck in that very limited model for teaching and learning. And what Professor Vikram Singh took us through is just to tell us how teaching and learning transaction has changed and keeps changing. And at every moment, it feels like we have to pull our act together depending on what happens around us. And many of the things that happen around us are non-academic.
Yes.
So somewhere along, our own faculty who have been saying, no, I don't know technology. I belong to an era which does not know technology, suddenly adapted themselves only with a mobile phone and started taking lectures in Zoom and platform. And today you ask, they would tell us a dozen platforms to work with. And all over the world, especially in the context of South Asia, Southeast Asia, we have had photographs, pictures, videos of students being perched quite precariously on top of very high buildings to get their connectivity to access those lectures that we were giving them.
Yes.
So this was a very real scenario. And even then, we were only talking about how do we teach, how do our learners learn. We very often ignore and neglect the evaluation part of the teaching learning process.
Yes.
If anything, as important or more important than teaching learning is the evaluation. So that is why I was extremely glad to look at these two key terms. When I looked at 2030, I thought, excellent, they are now taking a forward-looking stance.
Yes.
And when I looked at the term assessing, I said, yes, it has to change, but do we give enough attention to that particular aspect of the teaching learning process? We have not, but we need. So on that note, I thought what I would put forward to you is not really specific technologies, not really specific pedagogy models, because I'm sure there is a very, very impressive lineup of topics and speakers. So I think over the next 2 weeks, they are going to guide you forward through all those aspects in this trajectory of teaching, learning, and evaluation. But what I thought may be useful is for all of us to keep a few questions, a few concerns in mind, even as we listen to the speakers. I'm not saying doubt the speakers or contest the speaker's opinion. I'm saying just keep some of the ideas that both Professor Vikramasinghe and I will put forward today, so that we do not take an extreme position vis-a-vis technologies to be used, vis-a-vis pedagogies to be chosen. So on that note, I thought I will put forward the idea of appropriate education. So far, we've been talking about teacher-centric education, learner-centric education, technology-enabled education. But have we ever paused to ask, is the education that my student gets today in a higher education institution, how appropriate is it to the needs and demands? I'm not going to talk about society at large, but I would much rather focus on needs and demands of an individual learner. Needs and demands that are social, of course. At the country level, what are the national aspirations? What are the individual aspirations? And those will tell us what are the demands that education places before us. Today, our learner is able to obtain information much faster than any of us can do. It only requires them a split second. So, if I were using the word appropriate education to my class of students, by now they would have searched the Google God and would have given me half a dozen definitions and explanations for the term appropriate education. Given that, our position is not as dispensers of information. We need to necessarily help them convert the information into knowledge. They have information. What we have is knowledge. And that distinction becomes very, very crucial. I mean, I still know how some of my very senior faculty panicked when they had to teach online for the first time. They had knowledge, but they did not know how to use this tool for communication. They knew their classroom, they knew their blackboard, they knew when their learners were attentive, when their learners were distracted. They even knew how to use a PowerPoint. They knew how to access information and bring it into the classroom. But suddenly, like today, except for Dr. Ashokan and I looking at each other, all of you are now offline. So, are you listening to me? Are you thinking about something else? Are you here? Do you concur with my ideas? And look at the charm of it. The minute I mentioned it, 4 or 5 of you came online. Okay, I'm saying this because we knew instinctively how to make the eye contact and say, I know the student has understood, I know the student has not understood. But even in technologies, there are ways to catch hold of your learners and know how to bring them back into a discussion. That is precisely what happened among all of us. We can pride ourselves for being very, very good learners. Even after 20, 30 years of teaching, we are still very good learners. And the point is, the roles of a teacher and a learner is changing. I mean, I still recall when I was creating open educational resources for a Pan-Asian project, where we try to evaluate the extent to which open educational resources will be embraced by teachers, learners, administrators. What we realized was learners were the first one to embrace the idea. But let me also tell you, my worst critics were the learners. And my very first testing spot was a rural area in Tamil Nadu. And when I put forward those open educational resources, texts, images, videos, a very, very quiet girl came up, and when I threw the floor opened the floor for discussion and said, if you were in my place, what would you change about these OERs? The first thing they told me is, ma'am, if this is your idea of animation, I must tell you it is very, very badly done. Okay? So suddenly, on that day, I realized that the learner has better skills to create and communicate that material than I do. She can create and communicate, but can she bring it together, aggregate it, accumulate it into a knowledge? She does not have. So that is where now my role as a teacher has changed. I'm not telling him or her the information. I'm telling them, look, we are sharing this information, and as we move along, let us try and find out what knowledge can be derived out of these very disparate sets of information that is available all around us. So we have moved away from being in the center of the classroom and dispensing wisdom. Those days are gone, and we need to accept. But if on the trot you're going to ask me, does that mean teachers are no longer useful? I will say teachers are probably more useful and much more sought after, because that little trick to convert information to knowledge is still with us. None of your technologies can do that. That is why your Google Translate will give you absurd translations. I mean, I call myself a bilingual translator. I translate from Tamil to English and English to Tamil. But on the trot, what I translate, a Google Translate cannot do it. It'll do it faster, but accuracy is still with me. Because I know the cultural context, I know the linguistic context, I know what my readers want. And our AI, our data science, any of our captures are still not there. We are moving. With due apologies to Dr. Karthikeyan. I saw the AI DS there. But point is, the human interface in the teaching learning transaction is more useful now and not less useful. However, we need to know a different set of skills. What are those skills? How do we map technologies to pedagogies? Unfortunately, the kind of technological advancements that have happened over a very, very short period has given us the feeling that technology is like a little band-aid. Your kitchen knife cuts you, put a band-aid, keep working. So you believe technology can be a band-aid to your classroom transactions. That is not so. Technology is a very good support mechanism. It is a very good tool. It is a very good assistant, provided we know how to make use of it. Let me tell you a simple example. We believe that technology percolates in society in a particular way. The most educated, the most intelligent, the elite, the creamy layer of society are the ones who have the first access to technologies, any technology. I mean, that is why when Shakespeare left a set of volumes for his wife as an inheritance, today it will seem like a silly thing for us. But in those days, having one book is like having a diamond necklace today. So when he left the book, he veritably gave her a fortune. Right? So every technology percolates very, very differently. And different strata of society respond to the technologies differently. And that is why in a classroom, we are either digitally illiterate or novices. Whereas our students are digital natives. They will do it in a tap, which we cannot. But understanding that they will do it quickly, but not necessarily following the steps is where our role as faculty comes in. And the next myth about technology to pedagogy mapping is that we feel, let us have a high-end technology to do a simple task. No. I mean, in fact, you would have noticed, I think at least Dr. Ashokan knows that I've stopped using a PPT for a very, very long time now. Because I feel PPT is distracting my audience and me. See, there should be a purpose to using a technology. Let us not use a technology because it happens to be around. I mean, this is like many of us taking vitamin pills thinking that, it is going to be useful for us. No. Pharmaceuticals and pharmacy companies make a lot of profit. But not all vitamins can be taken at all times. Same thing with technologies. Let us map a technology that will suit the pedagogy that we use. Exactly. So that is one. And related to this is, yes, there are challenges. Whether it is connectivity, internet, bandwidth, where some of us have it easy, not many of us. Mr. Rahman, can I please ask you to mute? Thank you. So what happens is, overcoming all of these, we also have, at least in the Asian countries, language can be a very big barrier to the use of technologies. So in other words, to what extent are we willing to localize the operating systems, localize the AI applications, localize the apps? And it is I mean, the speech recognition is going a big way. And it is very, very important, not for the Western countries, because they are all monolingual. For us, at a minimum, we know 3 languages. So given that, how are we going to bring in the localization of the digital arena into the classroom? If we are able to do it, we certainly have a lot of contribution to make. The related aspect is, again, I think by and large, I can make a calculated assumption regarding the Middle East, Africa, as well as Asian countries. We have to start looking at our learners as co-creators and collaborators. That is a mindset for teachers to overcome. It has nothing to do. Technology cannot help us. No amount of writing articles on pedagogy can help us. The mindset has to change. I mean, if a student gets up in the classroom and says, I'm sorry, but I think the information that you have quoted is wrong. How are we going to, and they have a proof in a split second, how are we going to contend with that kind of an introduction into the classroom? Related to that is a question of ethics. I mean, the ChatGPT can allow them to turn out your assignments in split seconds. So if you give 5 p.m. as a deadline, maybe so far they were trying to start their work at 4:30, but now they can start at 4:58 and submit it at 4:59. And probably put a filter that will not allow you to find out the extent of matching and plagiarism. So what do? How do you inculcate the ethics even while we start looking at these use of technologies into our models? That is where the importance of evaluation comes. If we follow the age-old part 1 question, define such and such, what is the meaning? Give an example. Yes, OpenAI is providing a plagiarism tool, but let me also share it with you, sir, that our students know how to break that. We don't, actually, right? So, are we moving towards an open book kind of examination? Are we telling them to apply a knowledge, provide a product spec, provide a patent model, provide a wet lab model for us? Those may be the way forward in evaluation. No longer this 3-hour part 1, part 2, part 3 will work. There has to be other ways of evaluating. So where I thought, for whatever it is worth, I will put forward 2 models for you, and with this I will finish. Maybe I'm overstepping my time, Dr. Ashokan. You're free to tell me.
Sir, you are muted, sir.
You're muted, sir.
Please go ahead, madam. It's very fortunate for us you have today, because it is very difficult nowadays to find the people, leaders, to tell us what is going on, what is happening there. So we are very happy to. Please go ahead.
So the 2 models I put forward is way back in the 1960s. Paulo Freire, an expert in education, wrote a book called Pedagogy of the Oppressed. And in Pedagogy of the Oppressed, one of the things he said is, in a classroom, when we look at the positioning of the teacher and student, are we following a very colonial and a very feudal mindset of master and slave, oppressor and oppressed?
Okay.
If that is the case, his forecasting was education will fail. So that is where he brought forward the model of let learners be the co-creators of knowledge. Let the learners tell us what knowledge they would like to have. So that is why in many of the countries outside, you will have papers that may sound a little funny. Okay? So for instance, physics for piano is an elective course. Music for biologists, mathematics for doctors. You would wonder why it is required. It is required precisely because there is a multidisciplinarity, there is an interdisciplinary approach that can give us a better hold on our own disciplines. So supposing, sorry for picking on Dr. Karthikeyan, but that AI and DS caught my attention. Supposing we tell Dr. Karthikeyan, let the next FDP be for AI and DS for dummies. Reason is, all of us would qualify to be participants. Right? Not for beginners. You know, beginner already is at another level. AI and DS for dummies is in everyday usage. Can I be aware of what AI can do and cannot do? So for instance, by mistake, if I've done a Google search for a red sari, for the next so many days, all reds, all saris come up whenever I open my internet. So it feels like someone is watching me 24/7.
Yes.
And at the end of it, I will start hating the color red. I will probably start hating sari as a dress. But there are ways that someone like Dr. Karthikeyan can tell us how to avoid this trap. So that is why we need to think beyond our disciplinary boundaries to look for interdisciplinary possibilities. This is the first model, so that we can break the oppression that pedagogy will lead us into. The pedagogy, not only pedagogy, but technology can also make us a slave. This is one. The second model I would like you to think is what Raymond's talks about. He calls it the cathedral and the bazaar model. So if you ask an architect to build a cathedral, he or she would be given a nice blueprint where things should be kept and in what steps the cathedral has to be built. But has anyone come to us for building a bazaar? No. I mean, you look at all the very active markets in the world. Are they built on a model? No. I mean, I would go into the first shop and, you know, after a few visits, I will say, no, the first shop will always be expensive. Let me go to the 6th shop. Let me compare the price with the 10th shop. Let me come back and zero in on the 8th shop to pick up my wares. And there is a bargain. And somewhere along, it is very collaborative. I mean, they would say 100 rupees, and then we will say 20. Then they will come to 95. We will move to 30. So somewhere along, we'll zero in on 50. But the charm of that bargaining in a bazaar is that you believe you've got the best price. The seller believes he or she has got a good profit. And that is where the bargain ends. Can we think of teaching, learning, evaluation, and research as this kind of a collaboration? Can we move into using the online technologies? It is incidentally called the COLT model, C-O-L-T, where we talk about collaborative online learning and teaching, so that we take the students along, and by so doing, we can make them active active learners who are responsible for their learners. I mean, for instance, I'm sure many of the faculty in the audience will agree with me. The reason why many of our students cross that threshold to pass a course or the threshold to reach a first class, which is 60%, or a distinction that is 80%, you can tell me honestly how much of it is creative marking on your part, how much of it is well-deserved. And if we are honest, I mean, I've been a teacher for 35 years now. That last mile is our generosity and creativity in marking them on a particular day. We cannot expect technology to do the same thing.
Yes.
I mean, we have accepted student assignments turned in one day late saying maybe, you know, for them it was today, 12 o'clock in the night, right? That creativity, the technology will not have. It will cut off 11:59. It cannot take the assignment anymore. So either we are going to make our technologies creative or we are going to refurbish and remodel our patterns, frameworks for teaching, learning, and evaluation. And on this note, once again, thanks to the team led by Dr. Ashokan and others for inviting me. And thanks to the participants for joining us. It is truly amazing to be meeting all of you virtually. And hopefully in the near future, sometime, somewhere, all of us will meet. On that note, God bless you all. Best wishes for the success of the program moving forward. And thanks again, Dr. Ashokan.
Thank you very much, Madam. You are very practical and insightful thoughts. Especially, I love that the differentiation between this information and knowledge. Most of the time, every learner is think that information equal to knowledge. So you have clearly spelled out the difference between how this information will be converted into this knowledge and how the teaching has been technology will be incorporated into pedagogy and beautifully explained with very simple live examples. It is highly impressive. Thank you very much for your valuable time, madam.
Thank you, ma'am. We are immensely grateful for the valuable knowledge, innovative ideas, and practical strategies shared by our today's guest. Their deep understanding of effective teaching methodologies and the dedication towards the students' success is undoubtful, and also made the session not only informative but also highly enjoyable. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes.
Dr. Ashokan, if I may be excused to leave.
Yeah, please, ma'am. Please, ma'am. Please.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now I request our HOD, Dr. N. Ashokan sir, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Yeah, a very good evening, one and all again. As gratitude is a sign of noble souls, it is indeed a matter of immense gratification and honor to propose a vote of thanks at this inaugural function of a 15-day International Virtual Faculty Development Program on Teaching, Learning, and Assessing in 2030. On my own behalf, as well as the Department of Physics, I wish to render our sincere gratitude to our honorable and beloved chairman, co-chairman, and managing committee members, dean, for their encouragement and extensive support to conduct this program. We keep on our in-depthness to our distinguished chief guest, Professor GLD Vikramasinke, Director General, Colombo Plant Staff College, President, Asia Pacific Accreditation and Certification Commission, Philippines, for sparing some time from his very busy schedule in order to give his inaugural address to the enthusiastic participants. Thank you very much, sir. We are happy to mention our obligation to our esteemed guest of honor, Madam Dr. Bharati Harisankar, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Avinash Lingam Institute for Home Science and Higher Education for Women, for a valuable special address to all the participants. Thank you very much, madam. I am very much delighted to thank all faculty and all the participants from all over the world to take part in this inauguration and make this event a grand success. Thank you, one and all. We'll meet tomorrow by 6 p.m. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Dear participant, the feedback link is given in the chat box. Kindly I request to fill it.
Sir, 2-3 times, please post it.
Yes, sir.